Thompson. Welcome to another Escape to Gaming. Today I'm very hyped to bring you a wonderful game from 2012. But when I look back and think about each year, the last couple years, each like 2011, right away you'll think of a couple games that come to mind. Well, in 2012, one of them is Sleeping Dogs. This is a delightful open world game that takes an exotic locale like Hong Kong and really makes it cool. This is a wonderful place to roll your sleeves up and submerge yourself in a wonderful world of the triads, being an undercover cop. Now, the story of Sleeping Dogs, you start off as Wei Shen. Now, he grew up in Hong Kong, was raised there, but then later he went to the United States and became a San Francisco undercover cop. Well, something happens and his sister gets murdered, and he kind of comes back to Hong Kong and tries to infiltrate the triads and find out what happened by becoming an undercover cop in Hong Kong. And he has superiors that he has to answer to, and he has to try to kind of pick up some of his old friends and roll his sleeves up and get back in the action. So initially you're not sure who's good, who's bad. You don't really know where the story's going initially, but right away you see that people remember him. They're hesitant to take anyone that's new in to their confines because they already had one other person that was a rat and they found him out. So Wei Shen has a little bit of trepidation going into it, but he quickly dives in and immerses himself in this, underbelly and underworld of Hong Kong in the triads. So Sleeping Dogs I first heard about from E3. They showed a wonderful trailer on it. It looked really action-packed and colorful and exciting, but I was a little bit nervous. I had some apprehensions where Activision was going to pass on it, and then Square Enix was going to pick it up and try to carry the mantle from there. I didn't know how it was going to come out, so I was one of those wait and see. We'll see how it comes out. So I didn't even pre-order it, even though I really love martial arts and was looking forward to it. A little bit later I saw a couple trailers right before it came out, and it really looked even better, and I was more intrigued, but I still waited. After I saw the first two reviews of it, I immediately smoked the tires down to my GameStop and picked it up. And what an incredible game this open world game of Sleeping Dogs is. Now briefly, a lot of us today love Hong Kong cinema and anime, of course. And I had actually, developed a fascination with it way back from the old Kung Fu TV show with David Carradine, and then later all the action films that we had in the late 70s, like with Chuck Norris, the movie The Octagon, and a lot of even some early, Chuck Norris films where he was with Bruce Lee were fascinating. In fact, I still to this day have every Bruce Lee movie and every Chuck Norris film. I'm a huge fan. So I was really into it. Well, Chuck Norris wasn't teaching anymore, but one of his black belt team, actually karate teachers was, and I met him in El Segundo, California, and I trained under him for years in Tang Soo Do, which Chuck Norris brought back with him from Korea. It's very similar to Taekwondo, but a little bit more kickboxing, and some of the katas are a little bit different. But anyway, I really rolled my sleeves up, sometimes even going in 5-6 days a week for practice. I worked my way up and achieved that black belt, which I'm very proud of to this day. So I've always had this fascination with martial arts and karate. But let me tell you, it's not everything is cracked up to be. I also had a lot of injuries. I had a couple teeth chipped. I got 22 stitches in my jaw from a street fight that I get in. I've had my kneecap shattered and some shin splints as well. So it's no matter how badass you think you are, there's always someone that's going to teach you a lesson and humble you. And even my karate teacher himself, some of the worst beatings I ever got were from him in sparring sessions. So I love martial arts, and I just used to go down to Chinatown in LA and just immerse myself in the whole environment. I love the Chinese culture, I love the Japanese culture, and I've always wanted to go to Hong Kong. So when I found out that the game was actually good, man, I couldn't get it fast enough. So as Wei Shen, you have to go in and infiltrate the triads as an undercover cop, which is really cool the way it's portrayed, and the voice acting and the character animations are actually amazingly good. I really was surprised. I thought it would be a serviceable story, just to have fun with the martial arts. But what they've done is they've created an incredible story, and it just gets better and better. Now, some things you'll see coming a mile away. There's other twists and turns in it that you don't really see coming. But you have a total of 30 main story missions, which kind of take you through this whole story. of Wei Shun infiltrating the Triad. And he becomes actually attached. You see a lot of conflicting loyalties that he has. You see a lot of sleepless nights that he has over trying to, walk a certain tightrope between being an undercover cop and then being loyal with his triads. And some of these triads were people that he knew from early on when he used to live in Hong Kong. So he knows his life literally is on the line. And he slowly starts to develop these friendships and alliances with the triads, as well as trying to be loyal as a cop, too. So they did a wonderful job. Now, we've seen so many wonderful Hong Kong cinema movies that have kind of portrayed similar stories. And that's one of the things I love about Hong Kong cinema. It's just a nice twist. I mean, we have so many open world games that are wonderful. I love GTA 4. And I can't wait for GTA 5, but it's just nice to see an exotic location in Hong Kong with just almost a magical, surreal downtown areas and slums and radical mountain terrains and elevation changes, and of course the water with all of the junks and the boats and the docks and the shipping and everything. It's all portrayed wonderfully in Sleeping Dogs. Now, the game, as realistic as it is, it has great lighting effects, gorgeous neon at nighttime. Even just driving down the streets in the rain looks so realistic. They did a beautiful job portraying many realistic dynamics with the graphics. But also the game has almost a graphic novel, comic book kind of a flair to it. And it also doesn't let you forget that it's a video game. You have a lot of, gaming style icons that will appear over characters' heads or over destinations that you have to go to. And it also has wonderful halo effects of bright colors that will highlight around environmental kill objects, or if someone's just about to attack you so you can prepare for a counter-strike, that person will be highlighted in red, which is really neat. I like that. So the game, doesn't take itself too seriously. It never lets you forget it's a video game first and foremost, but it's a wonderful open world that you can really have a lot of fun in, whether you do the missions or the side quests or many of the other delightful activities and mini games that they have within Sleeping Dogs. So in Sleeping Dogs, you have your main missions. Then you have these separate police cases that you can do as a cop. So you can either do them or not do them, but it kind of behooves you to level up. And the game is all about leveling up. Square Enix is really famous for kind of incorporating into the games a great leveling system, and Sleeping Dogs is one of the best. You have these, what they call, you have your cop upgrades as you work your way up through the cop missions in the ranks, and so you can quickly augment all of your skills by, the more points that you get by, not damaging property and hurting civilians and trying to be a good cop. You start getting these upgrades, which in some of them you can actually use for the triad too. So you have driving abilities, shooting abilities, melee combat abilities, what have you. It's awesome. And then also as a triad, you have another whole skill tree, and you work your way up as a triad. So very similar skills, but different. Some of them are more in melee takedowns and combats and more violent, really dynamic skills that you can learn. And then you also have what they call these face levels, which provides you a lot of luxuries as to what you can wear outfit-wise, how fat your new pad or apartment can be, a lot of upgrade abilities that once you build your face level up, you get like a certain rep on the street, and then you have a more carte blanche to buy the fancier vehicles and have the nicer pads and all these kind of things. So it just has a wonderful leveling system in Sleeping Dogs. It's a fantastic melee system. And again, initially I was like, oh god, it'll be another Mortal Kombat, you got just a lot of button mashing and memorizing buttons. But they actually consulted a really good martial artist when they made Sleeping Dogs, and they learned the ropes on the authentic movements, motions, and actual blows and takedowns you can do with this melee combat system, which is very much akin to Batman Arkham City. It appears a little clunkier at first, but actually once you get the button combos down and you master your favorite moves, it's fantastic. And you can just fluidly go from one move to the next, throw these guys around like rag dolls as you level your character up, and it's awesome. This game has one of the coolest melee combat systems I've ever seen. I mean, frankly, Rockstar could really learn a thing or two about the melee fighting that's in this game. It is fantastic. I can't rave enough about it. Now in Sleeping Dogs, you have a karate teacher, kind of your sensei, that taught you martial arts years before when you lived in Hong Kong, and you go to see him, and he has his prized collection of these jade statues that have been appropriated from him, and he wants them back. So he's kind of apprehensive about teaching you anything because he kind of feels that you're involved with the triads. He doesn't want to meddle too much, but he doesn't want to also, teach you something that could be used that's going to hurt you in the end. So he has a little bit of trepidation as far as helping you with it, but he says, I'll tell you what, if you find me these jade statues, I'll teach you a special move for each statue you find. So then you go on a hunt to find these jade statues. Some of them are really hard to find areas that are actually kind of, you have to find them as you're going along the mission. Some of them you can find right off the bat, kind of easy to get to. Other ones you have to wait till later in the game, but it's really neat. So I went on a hunt just to find these jade statues. You return them, he's highly grateful, and he takes the time to show you these cool moves. And it shows you on the screen a certain button combo. You master that combo, and it's exhilarating, because now you're even more of a badass, and you've got a great new weapon. So it really gives you a chance to try out all of the different moves, and it gives you a chance to incrementally learn. So it's not like overnight you got to learn everything at once. Now, aside from the awesome melee combat system that this game has built into it, it also has guns. Now, they kind of, it's not like Grand Theft Auto where, you find all the collectibles, you get all these gun icons glowing at all your, hideouts, and you can load up on all the Uzis and M16s and AKs you want. This game, they're almost like pop-ups. They're things that you'll do a mission, you do a slow motion jump, vault over cover, has a great cover system, by the way, and you vault over cover, you take the weapon from the dude, use it on him, use it on his buzz. Now you can dive back behind a new cover and start taking the guys out. It's a pretty simplified shooting mechanic. It's not too bad. In fact, I kind of like it even better than Grand Theft Auto. It's a little bit more user-friendly. It takes a while to get used to it initially, but once you get the swing of it, it's awesome. And every time you vault over cover, it kind of goes into a slow motion mechanic, and then you have a little bit more time to line up those headshots. It's really cool. It's very, very well done. So, and again, it gives you perks for getting those headshots, and for not hurting civilians and things like that. So you kind of walk a fine line between being a cop. It's not like Grand Theft Auto, 4, let's say, we can go out on a rampage and kill everyone inside. If you do that, it really affects your cop score. So the game never lets you forget that you're a cop, first and foremost. So you have to kind of be careful. So you drive a little bit more careful. You're more careful with the aiming, how you shoot. But because you want to get those cop points and the triad points equally and kind of build them up as you augment all of these level up abilities, which really will help you enjoy the game much more. Now, throughout the cases of Sleeping Dogs, you eventually get into a lot of street racing activity, which I really like, being a car enthusiast. And so what you'll have is you'll see a bunch of street racers hanging out in a corner, and eventually part of one of the police missions is you infiltrate the whole street racing scene to get to one of these triad guys that's, taking down a lot of people on the street with his car. So, you start off initially doing a kind of a mandatory driving mission, but later you have the option to do these really cool races. And the game is very well done. One of the developers that actually did Need for Speed Pro Street did the driving scenes for this game. So as much as I love GTA 4 and some of the more realistic driving physics that they have as the cars fishtail and get all out of control and kind of undulate and sway and have a lot of body roll, this is a little bit more arcadey, more of a Need for Speed style driving, and it's very user-friendly. People that typically don't like driving these open-world games will quickly love the driving in Sleeping Dogs. Part of the driving will entail you can do some really cool emergency brake turns, so you can kind of hit this one button and hang the tail end out to get some, pitch your car sideways, get some wonderful drifts. It also has another button where if you get guys who are too competitive with you, or especially with a really hellacious cop chases that they have, it has a ramming effect, which is kind of defies physics in real life, but it's really cool. Once you get the swing of it, you hit this button and it just does a really violent ram. It'll knock a car completely off the track. Sometimes it takes a couple hits, but it's really excellent. So great driving mechanics in Sleeping Dogs, and it also has what's really neat is kind of this, and it kind of correlates with that Hong Kong cinema style, is they have a really dramatic action hijack where you pull up behind another car, you hit this one button, he kind of prepares himself by hanging out the door, and he leaps forward and jumps onto the roof of the other car, commandeers the car, rips the guy out or whatever. gets in the car, and then he now controls that car, which is awesome. And then later, you have the option, especially if you need some bread, you want to buy, a lot of those upgrades and things that you like. They have these like Brinks trucks that are all over town, and they're highlighted with a little icon above them, and you can pull up behind them, do an action hijack, kind of work your way around the back of the truck, the side of the truck. You get inside the truck, commandeer it, and now you get all the bread and the dough that's in the truck. But then you also initiates a police chase. So sometimes it's really tough in a slower truck, but you get rid of the cops, and now you've got even more money. So these are just many ways you can play Sleeping Dogs. There's also a lot of these custom missions where you work for another guy where he'll tell you he's looking for certain cars. So you got to go out and find these cars and steal them and bring them back to his chop shop. Try to bring them back in one piece, which is kind of neat. So that's another great way to make money. There's other missions where you're helping just random pedestrians on the street. Someone's there and you see an icon over their head. You pull by to see if they need help. Sometimes they'll try to pull a fast one on you. Other times it's a legitimate help that you'll give the person. And that kind of levels your character up as well. You also get more points and money as well. So there's just wonderful ways you can play it. There's also some extortion side missions too, where another guy later on you hook up with, and he says, "Go out. This guy owes me money. I want my money." So you go out and you find this guy's, and you get the money from him, and you bring the money back. So there's a lot of melee combat and what have you in those. So there's just many ways you can play the game, not even talking about all the mini games they have. They have a wonderful gambling thing. You can bet on these cockfights, which are really cool, put down mega bucks. If you win big, but if you lose, you can lose a lot of money. And they also got some Mahjong poker, which is really cool as well. So they got some gambling, little mini games there, which are neat. They have these women that you can date in the game as well. Some of them actually kind of tie into the main story and advance the story. And each person that you take the time to date, and you do it on your own time. You have a little cell phone, which you get a lot of your missions through, kind of similar to Grand Theft Auto 4, but it doesn't annoy you as much. You're not in the middle of a mission, all of a sudden you're going to call and take some guy to play darts or something. So the phone is actually a lot better in this game than it was in Grand Theft Auto 4. So, you get a call, and it's one of the women wants you to pick them up on a date. You take them on a date. You may do some trivial thing, or maybe something that's a little bit more challenging. But if you pass that, you finish and complete that date with that person, then what happens is you unlock the collectibles that are hidden on the maps. Now you know where all the health shrines are. So let's say you can find these health shrines. I don't know how many, they might have 100. They're all over the city of Hong Kong in these 4 districts. Some of them are well hidden, some are in plain sight, but if you find all of them, for every several that you find, it increases your overall health band. So instead of having a smaller section of health, every 10 or so you find, you have more and more. So now you can really augment your health, so you can take a lot more damage. So the first 2 days, that's all I did was just drive around and find these health shrines, which is really neat. There's also lock boxes hidden all over Hong Kong. Some of them have a lot of money in them. Some have some weapons. There's some really cool outfits. Like one of my favorite outfits was from the movie Reservoir Dogs. You get the black, it's a Mr. Black outfit, and you have just a white shirt, black tie, black suit and pants, and it's got the black classic Ray-Bans on. It's really cool. And so it just gives you incentive to go out and find all the lock boxes. This is a great game with just tons of collectibles in it. Lots of really neat achievements and trophies also, depending on which system you're playing it on. I can't brag enough of how many dynamics and really cool gameplay elements that they throw in the mix with Sleeping Dogs. One of the other cool things that's kind of neat about the game is it has lots of these kind of little subcategories of mini games within the main mission. So some of them you want to plant a bug in someone's place to kind of see what's going on for the cops. So you go in there, and they got some ways that you have these little mini games on how you unscrew a vent and plant a bug and hide it. There's some hacking mini games too, where you find these security cameras all over town where these gangs are hanging out. You go in and you can hack the security cameras. A little hacking game that goes with that. It takes you a while to get used to it, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. And then you can take on the guys, go back to your pad. Now you control the camera. You can set up surveillance on a drug deal, call in your cops, and they take the guy down. It's really cool. They also have, you can triangulate where a phone signal is coming to follow someone. It has some safe cracking as well, and so you get lots of little mini games on how you open doors with door lock picks and cracking safes and planting bugs and phone tracking, all this kind of stuff. It's really well thought out. They put a lot of thought into these mini games, making the game fun, so it never gets stale. There's always something new to do, something fun to do. They even have upgrades. You can, radically outfit your pad with huge aquariums and big screen TVs and furnishings and stuff like that. And eventually you unlock fatter and fatter apartments, which are really cool, including one's even a houseboat, which is really neat down in the marina. They also have a wonderful array of cars, from little tuner cars to more exotic cars and SUVs and limousines, all kinds of things. And unlike Grand Theft Auto 4, where you steal the cars, this one you have to kind of encourage you to level up, get your money saved up, get your face value up so you can go and buy the fancier cars. And then now you can buy the cars, you'll have them in your garages, which are all over town. So, and then later you unlock the ability to call a valet. He'll actually bring a car to you, which is really cool if you get stuck somewhere. So the game has just got so many cool dynamics to it that really make it an incredible and wonderful sandbox open world game. Now they also have these martial arts clubs, and there's one in each of the 4 districts of Hong Kong. And as you kind of master your moves, and you may think you're really good, it's one thing to kind of take over some of these smaller little skirmishes you get into, but this is just wave upon wave of challenging martial arts badasses you got to deal with. And you're dealing with grapplers. You're dealing with guys that specialize in sharp-edged melee weapons like knives and meat cleavers. And you got to try to, be careful how you attack them, because they can really jack you up really bad. And the brawlers too, and the grapplers are tough. So there's thugs and brawlers, grapplers, guys with edged weapons. It really is neat, and there's a different technique for taking each of these guys down. So I really appreciate the tremendous thought that went into it in making the melee combat so damn fun. It's just an awesome game. I can't recommend it highly enough. I just haven't seen that many really good martial arts games. There's a couple out there that I've heard of that are good. Stranglehold is another one I haven't played yet, but a couple friends of mine said, dude, you have to, if you like Sleeping Dogs, you're going to play that. So I'm going to be checking that one out soon. But this game is just so fun. It's almost like a comfort food. You think of your favorite food, like you think of your favorite pizza with your favorite toppings from your favorite joint that you get it from. And you're hungry, you've been working all day, and you can't wait to just stop and order that pizza and go home and devour it. That's how I feel about Sleeping Dogs. I'll be at work some days and I'm just thinking of a fun game to play that's open world, and Sleeping Dogs is like that comfort food. It comes to mind, and when you start playing it, it doesn't let you down. It's fun, it's colorful, and it's tasty as hell. It's a wonderful game. This is one of those games that you don't trade, you don't sell, you hang on to it. And they're actually making tons of DLC for it, which I have almost all the DLC. They have this new tournament, martial arts tournament, that I'm actually I think it's called a Zodiac tournament, that looks really good. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing on Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. It looks really cool, kind of a 70s flair to it. So I'm going to be getting that next and going through the game. Now, I've got about 27 hours in the game so far, and I bet I still have 30% of the side missions and quests left. There's just so much to it. Then there's additional SWAT team police missions where you specialize in lots of weapons and tactics. And then there's also some extra street racing missions with boats and cars. And that's the other thing I forgot to mention. It's got some wonderful scenes with boats where you're driving the boats. Some of them you're just following another person in a boat. Other ones you're actually shooting from the boat, which is pretty awesome, or evading gunfire. The same thing with the cars. Sleeping Dogs has some of the most epic car scenes. I mean, again, Grand Theft Auto could learn, and Rockstar could learn a thing or two from some of the wonderful dynamic elements of the driving in Sleeping Dogs. They got some epic shootouts. You're just riding a motorcycle full bore down the street, or a car. Sometimes your partner's driving and you're shooting out the window. You lean out the window with like a MAC-10 and take out the guys next to you, try to shoot their tires out. The car does this, just kind of, it goes a beautiful slow motion, which they have through the bulk of Sleeping Dogs. Lots of slow motion animations with the fighting, and wonderful slow motion animations with these driving scenes and guns and cars and stuff. They also have it with the boats too. And he just shows this, the car spiraling through the air and, blowing up, and the guys flying out of it. It's just very over the top. So it's a wonderful kind of a throwback again to the Hong Kong action cinema, 80s action films that we can't get enough of. This game really does it right, and it really does martial arts and the Oriental culture justice, I think. I even like the stylish menus. It has wonderful music in it too. The radio stations are really cool. A very eclectic mix of, you know, some techno stuff and club music and, you know, even classical. They got some kind of 70s American, you know, music, pop music, which is pretty cool. It's a great package. I mean, Square Enix and United Front Games that did this really deserve a medal. I can't wait to see a sequel to this game. I know it'll be even more refined and improved as time goes on. So the story takes you through a full range of emotions. You see Wei Shen go through, you know, a wide range of feelings and conflicted loyalties that he goes through, and it's very well portrayed. It's a really one of the better stories I've seen, and I don't want to, you know, give away any of the story or the ending of it, but the ending is actually quite good. I was really surprised. It's kind of nice with all the crappy, you know, video game endings that we have, and some of them are a little lackluster, some of the endings of some of the games the last 2 years especially, but this one's a great ending. And I have no issues with the way the story wraps up. It, you know, certainly could leave itself open for a sequel, which I'm hoping for. But the game is just a gripping story. Again, you'll see some things coming, but overall it's got some great twists and wonderful character development. From little mundane characters to some characters that actually kind of grow into being bigger characters. And they share the screen time with Wei Shen, so it's not all about him. It's about some of the other people that he's protecting, and that he's trying to watch their back and take care of their families, and I like that a lot about the game. It's a wonderful story. So the game really captures the essence of Hong Kong in a nutshell for a video game. It has a great story. The graphics, I think, are very eye-popping and incredible. It's very user-friendly as a video game. It has an incredible leveling system, which I really appreciate. I love to level up on these games before I advance into the missions, and this game gives you that in spades. Many wonderful mini-games and missions, races on motorcycles and cars and boats, cop missions, you know, extra little mob activities and missions that you can do, this dating dynamic, which is really cool and well done. Wonderful voice acting from many wonderful actors that you'll recognize in a lot of other Oriental films and even some American films as well. So it's a very polished package. I even love the menu designs in particular, very user-friendly, and it has this, speaking of menus, it has a social hub where even though the game, and it's been kind of bagged on because it doesn't have a multiplayer component, but it has this leaderboard social hub deal where you go in there and you can, you know, get the longest wheelie or the farthest car jump, or see how long you can drive without damaging your car. Lots of these things to kind of compare them to your friends' scores. It's very cool. You can go back and replay a lot of your favorite missions and work at getting those hidden achievements and trophies that are built into the game. Lots of the little side quests that you can do or not do. It's up to you. Some people just want to go through in 10 or 12 hours, and probably you could do it if you just focus on the main missions. But the game is so fun. It really is a sin not to roll your sleeves up and immerse yourself. I mean, I'm going to have probably, 35 hours at least in this game when I'm all said and done, and then I'll return to it because I want to get more of those achievements. The game is not overly challenging. You can probably change the difficulty and make it harder. So when it's all said and done, if you love action, if you love Hong Kong cinema, if you love just taking kind of an exotic trip to the Orient and seeing another world that you've never seen, driving on the other side of the road, seeing these gorgeous kind of panoramic views of the city, looking up through the buildings and the narrow alleyways and all the neon, and just seeing another rich culture that's just really immersive, even with the music that goes hand in hand with it. It's a wonderful adventure. This is an exotic vacation you can take via this video game of Sleeping Dogs. I can't recommend it enough. I hope that you'll get the game. By now the game's probably even gone down in price, and like I said, some people have issues with the DLC packs and this, but this game is wonderful and it's worth every penny. You really will augment the game and have even more fun with it as they're coming out with more and more DLC for it. So I can't encourage you enough. Go out and get Sleeping Dogs. You'll have a blast with it. I love the game, and this is a game that I'm going to continue going back to again and again. So again, thanks for watching. My name is Dean Thompson. You've been watching another Escape to Gaming. Stay tuned. I'm going to be bringing a lot more of these 2012 games that I missed reviewing, or I frankly haven't even finished playing a couple of them yet. So I'm very excited, and I have a lot of other cool rants and things coming up. So thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful 2013.